Happy Thursday. Welcome back to Inside the Lines. We got a nice NBA slate for you guys to get through, answer all your questions, and a few college baseball plays from Jake as well. Before we get into that, let's take a look back at yesterday with the crew. Solid day in the NBA, except for Chet, who, if anyone's following along on Twitter, screwed me out of one of my parlays to make $500. So thank you for nothing, Chet. Looks like a pretty awesome day, an opportunity to rebound in the college baseball and basketball slate here. So without further ado, Jake, let's get into two college baseball plays. I know it's a pretty small slate today, correct?
Yeah, there's only, I think, 4 games with posted odds right now. So you have to find some value somewhere. So it's not Thursdays are the weaker days when it comes to college baseball, because Tuesdays and Wednesdays are when most teams play midweek games. Then Friday through Sundays are when most of the series are. So you have to find some value on these few games on Thursdays if you want to play them at all.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like you've gotten creative here for us. We're looking at a parlay to start, a little money line parlay with West Virginia and Oregon State.
Yeah, I just want to play 2 home favorites, and West Virginia, BYU are playing their first game in the Big 12 slate. Both teams have good pitching, but the over-under open at 10.5. It's already down to 9 on DraftKings, so I just want to play West Virginia over here with Aiden Major playing. I think JJ Weatherhole, I don't know his status, but he's the best player in the country when healthy, and probably one of them. Though I'm not going to claim he's the best player, but he's one of the best players. But if he's healthy, I really like West Virginia. BYU's Thursday night pitcher has been pretty good. But West Virginia, I think, just is the more talented team, and not easy travel for going from going from Utah to West Virginia here. So I like West Virginia minus 238 in a parlay. And I like Oregon State against Cal State Northridge here as well. Just playing 2 home favorites at minus 112, getting close to even money line.
I like that here. I didn't even think about the travel here. Is this like when college baseball teams travel, does it have any type of consistency? Like if they're headed out to the West Coast, do they stay?
So there's just massive home field advantage when in all of these college baseball games, because the travel is different for each team. The bigger schools have their own private planes and stuff, so it's easy travel, but the smaller schools don't, and so it's tougher to play for them. But I mean, BYU, I'm sure they have a lot of money, so I'm sure that they're traveling pretty nice. But baseball, sometimes these schools don't put as much stock into baseball, but that's why there's so much value on midweek home underdogs, because this travel, these players have to go to class, maybe take an exam, and then travel through bus to these other schools. So that's why there's value on the home teams.
Fair enough. All right, let's go to UC Irvine, Fresno State, who will have the home field advantage here, but we like the under.
Yeah, the under's actually down to 10.5 right now on Hard Rock, and it's been massive movement. I still don't mind it at 10.5. I think we have it at 10.1 in the model. This is why you have to pretty much, as soon as they post, if you like a play, you can hit me up on Twitter and find my opinion, but you have to pretty much get it in because it'll move really quickly. But I still like it at 10.5. We have a 10.1 in the model. I actually played the under 10.5 and Fresno plus 2.5 in like a correlated same game parlay, because if it's going to be low scoring, and Fresno has a really good Friday night starter, so I'm assuming he pitches today on Thursday against UC Irvine. So just if it's going to be low scoring, hopefully Fresno can keep it within 2 runs. And the model likes Fresno at home here. So I think that you get that plus 190 right now on Hard Rock. So I don't mind that correlated same game parlay.
All right. Good to know there. Maybe get in on the Fresno action before it's too late. All right. Let's move on here. Let's head over to the NBA. Before we get to the NBA, I know I sound like a broken record. Just want to remind everyone, on Monday, we will be starting our show time at 5 p.m. We want to get into the live betting action now that March is coming, March Madness, all the fun things. Could be a fun switch up for the team. I know we do have some live college basketball right now, Jake. Maybe we can get into the live betting market right now. We had a 12:30 tip-off, I believe.
Yeah, right now I'm looking at the odds board for Odds Jam. It's interesting. You get plus 6.5 live on South Alabama at DraftKings, but then it's plus 4.5, pretty much the same price at BetMGM right now. So and now its best price is 5.5. So it's moving like crazy. South Alabama was just down 12. They've cut it to 8. I'm about to run it on the live sim that Steven built a couple years ago that I've been using during March Madness. And if there's anything interesting, I'll write it in the chat or maybe share my screen.
All right. No pressure, Steven. We're breaking out the live betting action here. All right. Let's head over a little more to your wheelhouse here with the NBA. We got 7 games, I believe it is. I am on the How for a nice either 2-leg plus money parlay, single plus money play, because I am still not anywhere near to my $500 that I was supposed to get to from my $20. We are still somewhere around 30. So any thoughts in the chat? I'd love to hear them. All right, let's start here with, I believe it's Brooklyn. Yeah, Brooklyn, Detroit. Not exactly a Hollywood game, but definitely some player props and money to be made here.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get Dennis Schroeder. He had a nice game yesterday with 30 points, rebounds, and assists because Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, and of course Ben Simmons are all out, and so he needs to play a bigger role. So I'm disregarding all the season trends because that was with a very different situation. So I'm not worried about his under trends on the road. I'm not worried about his last 10 because, his minutes have gone up from around 25 per game to 35 the last 3. And so point guards who average 23 to 27 points, rebounds, and assists do average a ton at Detroit, 34.4 with a 5-0 over versus just 28.3 versus at home. So this is purely someone's got to have the ball and shoot and pass, and it's going to be a shooter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this here too. I like the idea of all the minutes he's going to be getting here. I also tweeted out Jalen Duren on DK was minus 120 for a double-double, and at Fanatics was minus 110. Oh, you put my play in there. Okay.
Yeah. So because I wanted to use on my fancy graphic, I never actually have anything down here in the bottom row. So the reason I describe this as getting fancy is I was thinking about that after our meeting at Fanatics. I have 2 theories about Fanatics, and they both might be true. They bought PointsBet to start their own sports book, so they might be offering a lot of really good prices in order to acquire customers. Back in the day, Pinnacle did this by slashing their vig by 50%, and everyone who was illegally betting went to Pinnacle. Those who wanted to illegally bet and money launder if you were big enough. So there could be that component where Fanatics is being generous to get audience. Another thing they could be doing is when they bought PointsBet, they didn't buy some of the smartest sharps who set the lines, and so they're kind of floating in the wind, and so that could be another reason. So either way, you should be able to capitalize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. We are now Hard Rock loyals, so can't work out for us, but definitely want to get that knowledge out for the rest of the team. All right, let's move on here to another game. I don't see any more questions here. Let's go to Minnesota, headed to Indiana. No Cat tonight. We like Pascal Siakam over 1.5 turnovers. Saw somebody liked his boards here as well, I believe. The line
so we put in the chat earlier. Naz Reid, who's going to see probably the biggest beneficiary with Cat out, has become a really good 3-point shooter. He was 4 for 4 the other night. So over 1.5 at pretty good juice is an excellent pick. Siakam, the reason why I'm on Siakam to get 2 or more turnovers is the line is adjusted clearly to his new role when going from Toronto, where he was over 2 turnovers a game, to Indiana down to 1.5. And he went through a stretch of 6 games with only 2 total turnovers, 4 straight with 0. And the under is definitely trending right now. But I like the fact that, as he's played well and integrated himself, he's actually had more turnovers recently, and that's not a sign that you're necessarily playing poorly. That could just be like that you have the ball in your hand, you're trying to pass the ball, you're playing more of a point forward situation, and turnovers are going to come even if you play well. So I like the fact that against Minnesota, who's a really good defense and might be better without Karl-Anthony Towns defending Siakam, that he can play well and still get 2 turnovers to go along with 6 or 7 assists and 25 points. He can also play poorly, obviously, if he turns the ball over. So that's why I'm going with this play.
All right, let's take a little quick break from the NBA here. Jake wants to give us some of his live betting situation going on for this South Alabama basketball game. Oh, you're muted.
None.
So I just wanted to show the screen just so in March, usually during the Sweet 16, I'll get more into this. But this is the current scenarios. We have Georgia Southern live win probability at 56%. That this was based on with 5 minutes 41 seconds left with in the first half with the score 26-18. There's no money line value. Looks like we'd have some value on slight value plus 140 on South Alabama. The implied odds is 41.7. We have them at 44.1, so 2.4% value. So if you were to play anything live, it would have been South Alabama. So maybe we'll do some more of this during the tournament, but this is pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'll work on making that more presentation worthy screen.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really worry too much about that thing was never literally supposed to see the light of day. I thought other engineers would have taken it over by now, but never happened.
It's just us on our island. So another question about Siakam rebounds. We do have a little value on it at 7. We have a projected for 7.3. All right, let's move on to also a question about the over in this game. I think the line's set at 228 if I'm looking at the right game.
We have a lean on the over. Actually, I want to I noticed a lot of strong overs in the model recently, and I dug up some trends that were kind of surprising to me. Last year, the average score post All-Star break went up slightly. The average over-under line didn't change, and the average sim went up slightly, so we hit on a lot of under picks. This season, the number of possessions is down over 2% since the All-Star break. Scoring is down almost 9 points per game, total points. The odds makers have adjusted and moved. Their average line has gone down by nearly 5 points, but the sim was still running as it is business as usual. So my theory is that with more players playing to hit the 65 game requirement and less load management, that maybe there's an effort by teams to be like, okay, we got to play our players, but not necessarily play at as fast a pace so to prevent injury. Also, it could be a situation where, for whatever reason, different teams are already adjusting for playoff basketball, where they often walk the ball up a little more and lock in a little bit tighter on defense. Whatever way, there's a real material change this year versus previous seasons that seems to be impacting the line. So, earlier before I picked this up, this over would have been stronger, but that's why you're seeing a lot more less scoring recently, which could impact a lot of our player props as well.
Right. Yeah, and we've made those adjustments in the model since figuring this knowledge out. So this should all be adjusted. Let's move on. I see some questions about Bam here. Someone we also like, Miami headed to Dallas. A lot of people on Jimmy Butler, but we're taking it somewhere else. We're going with Bam Adebayo at plus money to have over
hopefully
3.
It's because of it. Yeah, hopefully Jimmy gets makes some shots off assists. So this is I like it because it's plus money, and I know this is not scientific, but he started the season with 5. There was a time where Bam was one of the best passing centers in terms of assists in the league. Maybe the best before Jokic emerged. His role's changed since then, but he's obviously a capable passer when given the chance. He started this season with 5 straight unders, 3.5. But since then, he's never had a streak of 5. He's coming in today with 4 straight unders. So that's what I'm banking on him do. I don't like that for this stat that Terry Rozier is playing, because since he's been joined the Heat, Bam's over on assists is only 4 and 10 in this over 3.5. So I would not take this if this was minus 110, but we are projecting nearly 4 assists. And again, with Tyler Hero out, maybe there's a chance that there's more just better, pure spot up 3-point shooters. And so if Miami can hit 3 out of 6 passes out from Bam from 3, that'll get me 75% where I need to be.
Do we have any value on Bam over 13.5 rebounds and assists? Might be a safer play.
Yeah. We have not really. We have right on 13, shade under 13. We don't have him rebounding big today.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's move on to someone we do have rebounding big today. Going over to Kevin Durant. Toronto headed to Phoenix. Another nice plus money play here, over 7.5 rebounds. Yeah,
I'm banking on the fact that Toronto in their last game, which was their first game without both Scotty Barnes and Jakob Poeltl, available, that they got crushed on the boards at home by New Orleans by like 17 rebounds. So not that in Phoenix is actually out rebounds teams by a couple at home, and Toronto gets out rebounded even when healthy on the road and at home. So this was already going to be a projected rebounding edge for Phoenix. And I'm thinking that it could be particularly big in this case. So I'm going to fade this overall home trend of just 6.2 rebounds and a 10 and 18 over. But I'm going to bank on the more recent trend of nearly 8 rebounds per game, 7 and 5 over, and combined with Toronto's depleted front court.
Okay. Can we go over to the model here? So without Podol and Scotty Barnes last game, was there anyone specifically that stepped up maybe to look out for?
Well, I was on Kelly Olynyk because he's become a defensive menace.
Oh, right.
Block. But the lines have adjusted. So what was a great sweet line for like over 1.5 steals and blocks when I played it just for this game has gone away, and now it's like minus 150 or something like that for over 1.5.
I mean, Jake played his points over 7.5, and I think he got somewhere around 11. I wonder if that
15, yes. So I don't see his lines. We're not projecting I think we might be under projecting him, based on 20 minutes. But that's we don't have model value.
Okay. All right, let's move on here. I think that's all the questions for that game. Let's head over to Boston at Denver. Games like this just make me, I just don't hate playing games like this. I don't know if I want anything to do with it.
Yeah, this is a little wacky because the feed that we get for this database was empty for this game, except for Jaylen. And then earlier in the morning, Jaylen Brown was the only line posted on Boston side, but he was also the only Boston player listed on the injury report. And then I put out a play early this morning, KCP here. God, he's got a long name. Was at plus 140 on over 1.5. So I put it out there. I still should get credit for it. And again, please follow us, all of us, early, because as we move to 5 o'clock, there'll be less opportunities to provide act nows that are due to steam and lose line value. Because all the trends scream over 1.5, 1.9 average versus 1.2 on the road, 19.8. It's basically a lock. Great trends recently, great trends versus Boston. But the line since adjusted, and it's as high as I think minus 140 in some spots. So I still like it at minus 125 if that's still available.
Right. Definitely an act now. That was a really wacky line. I see a bunch of questions kind of all unrelated, but if we just do a little rapid fire through the model here, we'll go with Mike Conley back to Minnesota here, over 1.5 turnovers.
We have 1.6 turnovers. So, yep, sounds good.
Then what about Grayson Allen? Interesting play, Big Cheesy, because I don't know if this line's going to be a little too inflated from his performance the other night. Yeah,
we always tend to underproject Grayson Allen. It's not just because I don't like him. I think his line is like 3.5 made threes and 13.5 points. So we have 13 points. So nothing positively and negatively.
Okay. And then let's hit one more here with Cade Cunningham, over 25.5 points and rebounds. Something's making me want to start to get back on these Detroit player props again.
Yeah, we got 27 projected points and rebounds, and that's only with a relatively low 4.5 rebounding projection. So we do have him scoring a lot. There might be better value just on his points if that line's still at 19.5 range.
Yeah, definitely.
If his points 21.5 now, I guess we have comparable value on his points. But his rebounds, I don't know if we have value on his rebounds specifically. So might be safer with just points.
Okay, good to know. Let's move on to another game. Nothing too crazy today in the NBA. Sorry, guys, there's a plane over me. Chicago headed to Golden State here. We like the over, a lot of recent trends. I see where you're going with this. Something about it makes me feel like it makes way too much sense.
Yeah, so the line is, our overvalue is not as high as it was before, adjusting for this recent trend, but it's still well above the 223 consensus. I think you can get 222.5 here at Circa. So simple. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. The model is 65% over. The over is 18-13 in Chicago road games, 6-4 in Chicago no rest. The 3 of their last 4 games, they put up a lot of points, including hitting the team total for me yesterday. Their average road total is 227, so that's all over 222.5. And then from Golden State side, they're 18-14 in Golden State home games, 8-5 in no rest. They've had, only one dud, that Boston debacle. Other than that, they've been scoring pretty well. They got all their players back, and the average home total is nearly 235. So I kind of like this without overthinking it. And players who are tired tend to lose their defensive legs before they lose their shooting legs.
Mm-hmm. Let's head over to the model for this game quick. I wanted to ask about Draymond assists here. I think his line was somewhere around 4.5.
We have a lot of assists for him. We have right around 6 assists. So I think I like that pick. He had 6 last night and didn't have to play very many minutes.
What's Chicago's defense been looking like? I don't know why I can't really think of any adjectives in my head right now.
Well, for the season, it's not nearly as good on the road, but it's usually better with injury to Levine.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great scorer, but not known as the greatest on-ball defender.
Mm-hmm. Right. Let's move on. We got one more game to go through, I believe. San Antonio headed to Sacramento in a late game. We got Wemby, who's out. We're going with Trey Jones over 1.5 or half a made 3.
Yeah, so this line's team from 8.5 to 11, and model has it's way more than that because Wembanyama is out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with Trey Jones, who's not a good 3-point shooter. I classified it last season. This would have been really a solid play, 54.5% over last season, but because last season he played more minutes and took more shots because there was no Wembanyama. And this year, remember, they started the season without a point guard for some reason. They had Sohan playing point guard and that kind of thing. But I like the fact that he's had 2 stinkers in a row. 0 threes, shot really poorly the last 2 games. But before that, he was actually on a nice run, an 11-5 run from January 26th to February 29th. He had 9 over a 4-game stretch before his last 2. So he's actually been, for him, only just about 30% 3-point shooter. He's actually been shooting pretty well. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like the fact that he'll make 1, especially when they need offense without Wembanyama there.
Yeah, that's my favorite kind of play. Guys who have the volume and on the long run have been on a pretty good streak, but on a recent lull. However, that was my logic for Chet. Your logic for Chet, actually, that I also agreed with.
3 in the first minute or 2.
I literally went to bed because I was like, oh, he had 1 in the first 3 minutes. I'm literally walking out of this night with 2.
I posted, I thought we were really after Milwaukee happened. He had his 3 and Milwaukee had whatever 30 points in the first quarter. I was like, oh, we're trending for a perfect night.
Mm-hmm.
And then didn't get those. We got Reeves, but thank God we did, because if we had a perfect night, this would be an 0 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, an 0 for 8. Right. So we've preserved our ability to potentially go at least 5 and 3.
Mm-hmm. Yes, let's take a look at the chart real quick before we hit the recap screen. Strong trends we are following. Chicago and Golden State both just been hitting overs consistently and on back-to-backs. Fading Schroeder, who's had bad streaks. We think he can hit his PRA tonight with all of his new minutes. Wacky situation with KCP. His line should probably be a lot juicier than it is. We'd like Trey Jones here again to get out of his lull. Then we got Bam, 4+ assists. Why is it plus money on a guy who used to average around 6 assists and is playing a lot of point guard? Bringing the ball up, I'd say. Brings the ball up a decent amount. And Duren double-double should literally be minus 200, so I don't know what the deal is there. But nonetheless, we hit the recap screen with all of our NBA picks for the night. 2 baseball picks for you as well. A nice little money line parlay in there. Lots of diversity on this slate here. I like it. We'll definitely hit college basketball again. If you have any questions for Jake, reach out to him on Twitter as well. Sorry, Jake, I'm just going to offer you up like that. But you have better answers than me. So with that said, good luck with your bets tonight. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and then we'll see you at 5 o'clock on Monday.